Um, so it was 2022. I was in a military group that was in Ukraine, and um, we got into a situation where we got caught up in sort of a conflict that involved a really large explosion that it basically rattled my brain pretty hard, and it felt like the oxygen was sucked out of the room, and it took a while to catch our breath. And so coming back after not just that experience, but some other experiences while there, I spent, I don't know exactly, it might have been 6 to 9 months trying to deal with it. Like at first, I felt okay when I came back, but apparently I was pretty wound up. And then I started having really bad nightmares, and one thing led to another. I stopped sleeping, and I was having a hard time dealing with things. And so my friend of mine who's been in war experiences recommended Neupanex, and he introduced me. And so that's when we started Neupanex, and it's amazing that I took it for about the first month, and I went it just basically normalized my brain. Like I stopped having these first of all, I stopped having the nightmares. Well, I still had some, but they weren't as bad, and eventually they sort of went away. So for the most part now, I don't have those kinds of nightmares. And second of all, it sort of normalized my the PTSD. Like I wasn't dealing with like the I don't know, the thoughts. I don't know how you would describe it. The stress, maybe the intensity. I think intensity is probably a good way to describe it. It just normalized that, and so I felt a lot more normal than what I had over the months leading up to that. And it took about a month for that to happen. And I don't know, I haven't done like a deep study into what makes up Nupanex, but I can tell you for sure that it was very impactful. And so since then, I went through different therapy sessions through VA, and one called Rapid Eye Movement. EMDR is what it's called. I don't know exactly what it stands for. That was helpful, but what I noticed most dramatically was after I took Nupanex for about maybe somewhere between 2 weeks and a month, and I could literally feel myself become more normal than what I had been leading up to that time. So it was a big factor in getting past the issues that I was dealing with. I started having the nightmares. I didn't realize how tightly wound I was. Like, when I came back, I really didn't feel different. Like I felt normal. And then but I'm almost sure that I wasn't. I was really wound up very tight, and these nightmares started happening, and it's really strange because it was nightmares that don't go away. Like they're very similar in nature, and they don't just happen one night. They happen, several nights a week and for weeks on end. And at some point, it made me to where I just didn't want to sleep. So I'd sleep for an hour at a time, and then go as long as I could, and then catch sleep and things. And going without sleep is a bad idea. And then my whole sleep routine was off, and it was affecting like my day-to-day activities, my work related activities, and things like that. And it also affected my, sort of my mental state, my psychology. And it came out in ways that was just not product. productive, constructive, whatever you want to call it. It was unconstructive reaction to the sort of the state that I was in. And one thing I think is important to bring up that you hit on is I think my personal experience was partly physical and partly emotional trauma. So
Mm,
like I haven't done a lot of deep study into this, but what I have heard is that regardless of whether it's physical or emotional trauma, it can affect the brain, how the brain is wired. That's putting it in layman's terms, but how the brain's wired, it almost rewires the brains when you go through that kind of trauma. And I honestly think that one thing that Neupanex helped with was getting that rewiring back to the state that it should be in. You're wrong about that, but I really do believe it had something to do with that. I think that after I stopped taking Neupanex, I did not revert back to the state I was prior to it. So I want to point that out. I think that's an important thing because and it has to do, I'm almost sure, without being an expert on this, but it has to do with how Nupanex had repaired my brain. I really do believe that. Like it had repaired it, and once it's repaired, it doesn't go back to the state it was before. So it made that kind of a difference, I guess, is the point. And since then, I'm back to my normal self. Like I work productively, and I'm able to do what I is that I need to do with my work and my family and things of that nature. So it's back to business essentially. So I feel pretty good about that. But Nupanex is one thing that really opened my eyes in terms of like the different things that a person can try to resolve a situation like trauma, for example, is variable. Like the combination of ways that you can approach it and solve for it is almost infinite. And so to get lucky and hit on something, like Nupanex that just works so effectively is it's almost luck because otherwise, if you didn't know about it, you would be trying a whole range of different things and that may or may not work effectively. And so it was a little bit of luck that I ran into my friend who had gone through similar experiences and can't I can't say enough that if you're in a situation where there's a need to resolve issues like trauma or other issues like that that may have some neurological component even, then you got to at least try, right? It's the same thing as trying a therapy or some other, elements in pursuit of a solution. You've got to try to know if it's a solution to the problem. In my case, Nupanex was really effective. You say maybe that's not the case for everyone with similar, you know, situation, but it could be. So it's just like if I'm talking with other veterans who are going through similar things, I will instantly talk about Nupanex to them because I think it made such an effective difference in me that they at least have to know about it, you know. And if a person doesn't know, then they don't know to try it.